You have within you right now, at this very moment, everything you need to create the life you've always wanted. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when circumstances change, but right now. The power that created the entire universe, the force that spins galaxies and causes flowers to bloom, that same power lives inside of you. You are not separate from it. You are not disconnected from the source of all creation. You are that source expressing itself in human form. Most people go through their entire lives believing they are victims of circumstance. They think their lives are shaped by what happened to them as children, by what their parents said, by what society tells them, by the economy, by their education, by their zip code. They spend decades blaming external forces for their internal state. But here's what I want you to understand today, and I mean really understand in the depths of your being. You are not a victim of anything. You are a creator. You are not at the effect of the world. You are the cause. When you look in the mirror, you are looking at God. Now, I know that might sound blasphemous to some, but stay with me. What I mean is that the divine intelligence that created everything, that sustains all life, that intelligence flows through you. You are an individualized expression of that infinite creative power. The same force that created the stars created you. And just as the stars shine, it's your nature to create, to express, to manifest. You don't have to try to be a creator any more than a flower has to try to bloom. It's what you are. But somewhere along the way, most of us forgot this truth. We were taught to believe we are limited. We were taught to believe we are sinners. We are not worthy. We are small. We were taught to look outside ourselves for approval, for validation, for permission to be who we really are. We were taught that God is somewhere out there, separate from us, judging us, keeping score. And in accepting these beliefs, we gave away our power. We handed over the keys to our kingdom to other people, to institutions, to circumstances. The moment you were born, you were perfect. You were whole. You were complete. You came into this world knowing you were connected to something infinite. Watch a baby, and you'll see confidence. You'll see joy. You'll see the absolute certainty that the universe will provide. A baby doesn't worry about tomorrow. A baby doesn't feel guilty about yesterday. A baby simply is. That's your natural state. That's who you really are, beneath all the layers of conditioning and belief systems that have been piled on top of you. Now, what happened? You started listening to the world. You started believing what you were told about yourself. Someone said you weren't smart enough and you believed it. Someone said you weren't attractive enough and you believed it. Someone said you needed to be realistic, you needed to settle, you needed to accept limitations, and you believed it. You took on beliefs that were never yours in the first place. You inherited fear, doubt, and limitation from people who inherited it, from people who inherited it. It's been passed down for generations like some kind of spiritual disease. But here's the beautiful thing. Just as you learned these limiting beliefs, you can unlearn them. Just as you bought into the lie that you are powerless, you can choose to remember the truth that you are powerful beyond measure. This isn't about becoming something you're not. This is about returning to what you've always been. This is about remembering. Every single thing you see in the physical world started as a thought. The chair you're sitting in was once just an idea in someone's mind. The building you're in was once just a vision. The phone, the car, the computer, everything around you started in the invisible realm of thought before it became visible in the physical world. This is how creation works. Thought becomes thing. Energy becomes matter. The invisible becomes visible. And you do this every single day, whether you realize it or not. You are always creating. The question is not whether you're creating, but what are you creating? Are you creating on purpose or by default? Are you consciously choosing your thoughts and therefore your reality? Or are you letting your thoughts run wild, letting them be controlled by habit, by fear, by what you absorb from others? Most people are creating their lives unconsciously. They wake up in the morning and immediately start thinking the same thoughts they thought yesterday. They replay the same worries, the same doubts, the same stories about why their life is the way it is. And then they go through their day and experience the same things they experienced yesterday. And they think that's just how life is. They think they're at the mercy of reality. But the truth is, they're creating that reality with their habitual thought patterns. Your thoughts are not just random electrical impulses in your brain. Your thoughts are creative. Your thoughts send out a signal, a vibration, into the universe. And the universe responds to that signal. Like attracts like. The energy you put out is the energy you get back. If you walk around thinking thoughts of lack, of limitation, of fear, of unworthiness, you will create experiences that match those thoughts. If you walk around thinking thoughts of abundance, of possibility, of love, of worthiness, you will create experiences that match those thoughts. This isn't mysticism. This isn't wishful thinking. This is the way the universe operates. The universe is not punishing you or rewarding you. The universe is responding to you. It's like a mirror reflecting back to you the content of your consciousness. You are literally broadcasting a signal every moment of every day, and your life is the reception of that signal. Now, some people hear this and they say, well, that's not fair. I didn't choose to have this disease. I didn't choose to lose my job. I didn't choose for my relationship to fall apart. And I understand that on the surface level, it doesn't look like you chose those things. But what I'm talking about goes much deeper than surface level choices. I'm talking about the beliefs you hold, the thoughts you think most often, the vibration you're living at. Let me give you an example. If you believe, truly believe, at a subconscious level that you are not worthy of love, then no matter what you do consciously to find love, you will sabotage it. You'll pick partners who confirm your belief. You'll behave in ways that push people away. You'll create situations that prove you right, because your outer world must match your inner world. It's a law. Your external circumstances are always a perfect match to your internal state. So the work is not to change your circumstances. The work is to change yourself. When you change your inner world, your outer world has no choice but to change. It must. It's law. You change your thoughts, you change your beliefs, you change your vibration, and your reality shifts. Not someday, not eventually, right now, immediately. But most people have it backwards. They think, when my circumstances change, then I'll be happy. When I get the money, then I'll feel abundant. When I meet the right person, then I'll feel loved. When I get healthy, then I'll feel grateful. But it doesn't work that way. You have to be it before you can have it. You have to feel abundant before you get the money. You have to feel loved before you meet the person. You have to feel grateful before you get the thing to be grateful for. This is where your creative power lies, in your ability to choose your inner state regardless of outer circumstances. When you can stand in the middle of chaos and feel peace, you are demonstrating mastery. When you can stand in the middle of lack and feel abundance, you are demonstrating mastery. When you can stand in the middle of sickness and feel wholeness, you are demonstrating mastery, because you are no longer at the effect of the world. You are the cause. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying you should deny what's happening in your life. I'm not saying you should pretend everything is fine when it's not. What I'm saying is that you don't have to let your circumstances dictate your state of being. You can acknowledge what is while simultaneously holding the vision of what you choose to create. You can honor where you are while moving toward where you want to be. The universe doesn't care about what is. The universe responds to your vibration, to your feeling, to your state of being. If you're constantly focused on what's wrong, constantly talking about what you don't have, constantly replaying the past, you're creating more of the same. But if you can shift your focus to what's right, to what you do have, to the future you're creating, you begin to create something new. This is why gratitude is so powerful. When you're in a state of gratitude, you're in a state of abundance. You're sending out the signal, I have, I am blessed, life is good. And the universe says, okay, here's more to be grateful for. But when you're in a state of complaint, you're in a state of lack. You're sending out the signal, I don't have, I am deprived. Life is hard. And the universe says, okay, here's more to complain about. You are always at choice, always. Even when it doesn't feel like it. You can choose your thoughts. You can choose your focus. You can choose your state of being. This is your power. This is your divinity. God doesn't think thoughts of limitation. God doesn't worry. God doesn't doubt. God creates. And since you are made in the image and likeness of God, you are a creator too. But here's where people get tripped up. They try to control how things happen. They try to figure out the how. They want to know the steps, the plan, the strategy. And in their need to control the how, they block the flow of creation. Because the how is not your job. Your job is the what and the why. What do you want to create? Why do you want to create it? Those are your questions. The how is the universe's job. When you plant a seed in the ground, you don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You don't worry about how the seed knows to become a plant. You don't try to control the process. You simply trust. You water it, you give it sunlight, and you trust that nature knows what to do. Creating your life works the same way. You plant the seed with your intention, you water it with your attention and feeling, and you trust that the universe knows how to bring it about. But most people plant the seed and then immediately dig it up with their doubt. They say, I want abundance, and then immediately think, but I don't know how that's going to happen. It's impossible. It's never worked before. They cancel out their creation with their doubt. They don't trust the process. They don't trust themselves. They don't trust the universe. Trust is essential. Faith is essential. Not blind faith, but faith based on understanding how the universe works. Faith based on knowing that you are connected to infinite intelligence, infinite creativity, infinite power. Faith based on remembering who you really are. You are not your body. Your body is just a vehicle, a temporary housing for your consciousness. You are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are just tools you use to create. You are not your emotions. Your emotions are just feedback about the thoughts you're thinking. You are not your circumstances. Your circumstances are just the outpicturing of your inner state. You are consciousness itself. You are the awareness that is aware. You are the presence that is present. You are the eternal, infinite, creative power of the universe expressing itself as you. When you really get this, when you really understand this at a level beyond intellectual understanding, everything changes. You stop taking things personally. You stop being offended. You stop being a victim. You stop giving your power away to people, to circumstances, to the past. You reclaim your sovereignty. You reclaim your divinity. You step into your role as creator. And from this place, you can create anything. Anything. There are no limits except the limits you place on yourself. You want health? Create it. You want wealth? Create it. You want love? Create it. You want peace? Create it. You want joy? Create it. Not by manipulating the outer world, but by aligning your inner world with what you want to experience. This is what it means to live from the inside out. Most people live from the outside in. They let the world tell them how to feel. They let circumstances dictate their state of being. They're reactive. They're at the effect. But when you live from the inside out, you decide how you're going to feel. You decide what you're going to focus on. You decide who you're going to be. And then you let the world respond to that. You are not here to fit into the world. You are here to create your own world. You are not here to conform to what others expect of you. You are here to express your unique divine signature. No one else can be you. No one else has your gifts, your talents, your perspective, your purpose. You are utterly unique, and the world needs what only you can give. But you can't give it if you're trying to be someone else. You can't give it if you're trying to please everyone. You can't give it if you're hiding, if you're playing small, if you're pretending to be less than you are. You have to be willing to stand in your truth. You have to be willing to be different. You have to be willing to disappoint people who expect you to stay the same. Growth requires change. Evolution requires that you leave behind what no longer serves you. That might mean leaving behind relationships that keep you stuck. That might mean leaving behind jobs that drain your spirit. That might mean leaving behind beliefs that limit your potential. That might mean leaving behind versions of yourself that you've outgrown. And this can be scary. Change is scary. The unknown is scary. But staying where you are when you know you're meant for more, that's even scarier. That's a slow death. That's a life half lived. And you didn't come here to live half a life. You came here to be fully alive, fully expressed, fully yourself. The only thing stopping you is fear. Fear of failure, fear of success, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of being seen, fear of being powerful. And where does fear come from? Fear comes from identifying with your ego instead of your true self. Your ego is the part of you that thinks it's separate. Your ego is the part of you that thinks it has to protect itself, has to defend itself, has to prove itself. Your ego is terrified of not being enough. But your true self knows it's already enough. Your true self knows it's connected to everything. Your true self has nothing to prove and nothing to defend. Your true self is fearless because it knows it's eternal. Your true self is love, and love casts out fear. Every time you choose love over fear, you align with your true self. Every time you choose faith over doubt, you align with your true self. Every time you choose expansion over contraction, you align with your true self. And the more you align with your true self, the more you access your creative power. So what does this look like practically? How do you actually live this? You start by paying attention to your thoughts. You become aware of the stories you're telling yourself. You notice when you're thinking thoughts of limitation, and you choose to think thoughts of possibility instead. You notice when you're focused on what's wrong, and you shift your focus to what's right. You notice when you're replaying the past and you redirect your attention to the present moment. The present moment is where your power is. Not in the past, not in the future, right now. In this moment you can choose. In this moment you can decide. In this moment you can create. But most people are never in the present moment. They're either regretting the past or worrying about the future. They miss the only moment that actually exists, the only moment where creation happens. When you're fully present, you're fully alive. When you're fully present, you're fully connected to Source. When you're fully present, you have access to infinite intelligence, infinite creativity, infinite guidance. The answers you seek are available to you right now. The solutions to your problems are available to you right now. The next step on your path is available to you right now, but you can't see it if you're not present. So breathe. Come back to now. Feel your body. Feel your breath. Feel the life force moving through you. This is where God is. Not in some distant heaven, not in a book, not in a building. Right here, right now, in you, as you. And from this place of presence, you ask yourself, what do I truly want? Not what do my parents want for me, not what does society expect of me, not what would make other people happy. What do I want? What brings me joy? What lights me up? What would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? What would I create if I had unlimited resources? What would my life look like if I were living from my highest self? Get clear on your vision. Write it down. Feel it. See it. Live it in your mind first. Because remember, everything starts in the invisible realm before it becomes visible. Your imagination is your preview of coming attractions. What you can conceive, you can achieve. What you can visualize, you can materialize. Your imagination is not make-believe. Your imagination is your creative workshop where you design your life. But don't just visualize it once and then forget about it. Live in that vision. Make it so real in your mind that your body doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. Because here's the thing, your body doesn't know the difference. Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference. When you vividly imagine something, your body responds as if it's real. Your emotions respond as if it's real. Your vibration responds as if it's real. And when your vibration matches your desire, the universe must deliver it. It's law. This is why affirmations work when done correctly. Not just repeating words, but feeling the truth of what you're affirming. I am abundant doesn't work if you're saying it while feeling poor. But if you can say, I am abundant, and truly feel abundant, if you can generate that feeling in your body, you become a magnet for abundance. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. So be what you want to experience. If you want love, be loving. If you want peace, be peaceful. If you want abundance, be abundant. Not when circumstances change. Now. Start now. Start where you are. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You just need to decide. Decision is powerful. The word decide comes from the Latin decidea, which means to cut off. When you truly decide, you cut off all other possibilities. You commit. You don't leave yourself an escape route. You don't hedge your bets. You don't say, I'll try. You say, I will. There's tremendous power in that. Most people never truly decide. They wish, they hope, they want, but they don't decide. They say things like, I'd like to start a business, or I should probably exercise more, or maybe I'll write that book someday. There's no power in maybe. There's no power in should. There's no power in someday. Power is in decision. Power is in commitment. Power is in now. When you truly decide, the universe conspires to support you. Doors open. Resources appear. People show up. Circumstances align, not because you're lucky, not because you're special, but because you've sent out a clear signal, and the universe is responding to that signal. You've declared your intention, and creation has begun. But you have to stay aligned with your intention. You can't decide one day and then doubt the next. You can't affirm abundance on Monday and complain about bills on Tuesday. You can't visualize health in the morning and focus on symptoms all day. You have to be consistent. You have to be disciplined with your thoughts. You have to guard your vibration like you guard your most precious possession, because it is your most precious possession. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It doesn't mean you never have a negative thought or a bad day. It means that when you notice you've gone off track, you gently bring yourself back. You forgive yourself. You redirect your attention. You remember who you are and what you're creating. You don't beat yourself up for being human. You simply choose again. This is the practice. This is the path. It's not a destination you arrive at. It's a way of living. It's a moment-by-moment choice to align with your highest self, to think thoughts that serve you, to focus on what you want rather than what you don't want, to be the creator rather than the victim. And here's what's beautiful. The more you do this, the easier it gets. It's like building a muscle. At first, it takes effort to think new thoughts, to break old patterns, to choose differently. But the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. New neural pathways form, new habits develop. Your default setting changes. What once took conscious effort becomes automatic. You start waking up in a good mood without trying. You start seeing opportunities instead of obstacles. You start feeling grateful without forcing it. You start trusting more and worrying less. You start living from a place of knowing rather than hoping. You become someone different, not because you're trying to be someone you're not, but because you're finally being who you really are. This is what transformation looks like. It's not dramatic, it's not overnight, it's subtle, it's gradual. It's the result of thousands of small choices made consistently over time. It's choosing the better thought, it's choosing the higher perspective, it's choosing love over fear again and again and again until love is all that's left. And as you transform, your life transforms. It has to. Because you and your life are not two separate things. You are the center of your universe. Everything in your life is a reflection of you. When you change, everything changes. When you heal, your relationships heal. When you expand, your opportunities expand. When you elevate, your circumstances elevate. This is not selfish. This is not narcissistic. This is how it works. You cannot give what you don't have. You cannot share peace if you're not peaceful. You cannot inspire others if you're not inspired. You cannot lift others up if you're not lifted up yourself. The greatest gift you can give the world is to be fully yourself, to express your divinity, to shine your light. And your light is not something you have to create. Your light is what you are. It's been there all along. You've just been covering it up with layers of fear, doubt, guilt, shame, unworthiness. But underneath all of that, the light remains, pure, bright, eternal, unchanging. It's never been diminished. It's never been tarnished. It's been waiting for you to remove the clouds so it can shine. You don't need to become enlightened. You need to lighten up. You need to let go of the heavy energy you've been carrying, the resentments, the grudges, the need to be right, the need to prove yourself, the need for approval, the need for control. All of that is weight. All of that is blocking your light. Forgiveness is how you lighten up. Forgiving others not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Forgiving yourself not because what you did was okay, but because continuing to punish yourself doesn't serve anyone. Forgiveness is not about condoning behavior. Forgiveness is about releasing the emotional charge so you can be free. When you forgive, you take back your power. When you hold on to resentment, you give your power to the person or situation you resent. You keep yourself tied to the past. You keep yourself in victim mode. But when you forgive, you cut the cord. You release the past. You free yourself to create something new. This is true freedom. Not freedom from circumstances, but freedom within circumstances. Not waiting for the world to change so you can be free, but being free right now regardless of the world. This is mastery. This is enlightenment. This is living as the creator you truly are. And when you live this way, when you truly embody this truth, you become a living demonstration of what's possible. You don't have to preach. You don't have to convince anyone. Your life becomes the message. Your energy becomes the teaching. Your presence becomes the inspiration. People feel something different about you. They want what you have. And what you have is not something external. What you have is an internal knowing, an internal peace, an internal connection to source. This is what the world needs. Not more information, not more strategies, not more techniques, but more people who are awake, more people who are aligned, more people who are living from their divinity rather than their dysfunction, more people who remember who they really are. You are that person. You wouldn't be hearing this message if you weren't ready for it. You wouldn't be drawn to this truth if it wasn't your time to awaken. This is your invitation. This is your call. Not to become something you're not, but to remember what you've always been. You are the creator. You are divine. You are powerful beyond measure. You are connected to infinite intelligence. You are here for a purpose. You are loved. You are worthy. You are enough right now, just as you are. Not when you achieve something. Not when you become someone different. Now. So step into that truth. Claim your power. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for circumstances to change. Start now. Start where you are. Start with what you have. Make the decision. Set the intention. Choose the thought. Feel the feeling. Align your vibration. And watch as your world transforms. This is not theory. This is not philosophy. This is practical spirituality. This is how you live as the creator you are. This is how you access your divine power. This is how you manifest the life you desire. This is how you fulfill your purpose. This is how you experience joy, peace, love, abundance, health, success, and everything else you've been seeking. It's all available to you right now. It's all within you right now. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to become anyone different. You just have to wake up to the truth of who you are. You are not small. You are not limited. You are not powerless. You are infinite creative power expressed in human form. You are God experiencing itself. You are the universe made conscious. You are the creator creating. So create consciously. Create intentionally. Create beautifully. Create the life that's been calling to you. Create the self that's been waiting to emerge. Create the world you want to see because you can. Because that's what you're here to do. Because that's who you are. And when you do this, when you step fully into your creative power, something magical happens. Life stops being a struggle. Life stops being something you have to survive. Life becomes an adventure. Life becomes a canvas. Life becomes a celebration of your divine nature, expressing itself in infinite ways. This is your birthright. This is your inheritance. This is your truth. Not something you have to earn or prove or work for, something you simply have to remember and claim. So claim it now. Decide now. Commit now. Become now. Create now. The time is now. The person is you. The power is within. Everything you need is already here. Everything you've been seeking has been seeking you. Everything you've been wanting to create wants to be created through you. All you have to do is say yes. Say yes to yourself. Say yes to your power. Say yes to your divinity. Say yes to your purpose. Say yes to life. And in that yes, in that decision, in that commitment, creation begins. Not someday, not eventually. Now, right now, in this moment, this is the moment of your transformation. This is the moment of your awakening. This is the moment you remember who you really are and step into your role as creator. So go, live, create, be, express, shine, share, give, love. The world is waiting for you, not the small version of you that's been hiding, the real you, the divine you, the powerful you, the creative you, the unlimited you. That's who the world needs. That's who you're meant to be. That's who you are.
You know, there comes a moment in everyone's life when you realize that all the noise, all the chatter, all the endless talking and explaining and defending yourself just doesn't matter anymore. There comes a point where you understand that the most powerful thing you can possibly do is to simply be quiet. To stop trying to prove yourself to everyone around you. To stop needing validation from people who don't even understand your path. And in that silence, in that beautiful sacred silence, something extraordinary happens. You begin to hear the voice that matters most, the voice of the divine, the voice of God speaking directly to your soul. Right now, at this very moment, you have a choice. You can continue living the way you've been living, constantly seeking approval, constantly trying to make everyone understand your decisions, constantly feeling like you need to explain yourself to people who will never truly get it anyway. Or you can make a different choice. You can choose to focus on God, to humble yourself before the infinite intelligence that created you, and to stay silent in the face of criticism, judgment, and misunderstanding. This isn't about being weak. This is about being so strong, so centered, so connected to your source that nothing anyone says or does can shake you from your foundation. Think about this for a moment. When you look at the truly great spiritual teachers, the ones who changed the world, what did they have in common? They didn't spend their time arguing with everyone who disagreed with them. They didn't waste their energy trying to convince the skeptics. They simply lived their truth. They stayed connected to God. They remained humble, and they knew when to speak and when to be silent. Jesus didn't defend himself at his trial. Buddha didn't argue with those who mocked him. These beings understood something profound that most people never grasp. They understood that your connection to the divine is not something you need to defend. It's something you simply live. Now, I want you to really understand what it means to focus on God. This isn't about religion, though if religion helps you connect to the divine, that's beautiful. This is about recognizing that there is an infinite intelligence, a creative force, a loving presence that is always available to you. Always. Right now, as you hear these words, that presence is with you. It's not separate from you. It's not somewhere out there in the sky judging you. It's within you. It's the very essence of who you are. When you focus on God, you're not focusing on some distant deity. You're focusing on the highest aspect of yourself. You're aligning yourself with the creative force that brings worlds into being. And here's what happens when you truly focus on God. Everything changes. Your priorities shift. The things that used to upset you don't bother you anymore. The opinions of others lose their power over you. You stop being controlled by fear because you realize that if God is with you, if God is within you, then what is there to fear? You begin to see that every challenge, every obstacle, every person who seems to be working against you is actually part of your spiritual growth. It's all happening for you, not to you. When you focus on God, you step out of victim consciousness and into creator consciousness. But focusing on God requires something from you. It requires humility. And let me tell you, humility is one of the most misunderstood concepts in our world today. People think humility means making yourself small. They think it means denying your greatness. They think it means putting yourself down. That's not humility. That's false modesty, and it doesn't serve anyone. True humility is recognizing that your greatness doesn't come from you alone. It comes from your connection to something far greater than your individual self. True humility is understanding that you are a channel, an instrument, a vessel through which the divine works. When you humble yourself, you're not saying you're worthless. You're saying you're willing to get your ego out of the way so that something bigger can flow through you. You're saying you don't need to take all the credit. You're saying you don't need to be the smartest person in the room. You're saying you're willing to learn, to grow, to admit when you're wrong, to change your mind when new information comes along. This is strength, not weakness. It takes tremendous courage to humble yourself in a world that constantly tells you to promote yourself, to brand yourself, to make sure everyone knows how amazing you are. Here's the beautiful paradox. The more you humble yourself, the more you actually rise. The more you let go of needing to be right, the more wisdom flows to you. The more you stop trying to control everything, the more things fall into place. The more you surrender to God, to the divine flow of life, the more powerful you become. But it's not the kind of power the world understands. It's not the power of domination or control. It's the power of presence. It's the power of peace. It's the power of knowing who you are at the deepest level. And then there's silence. Oh, the power of silence. We live in a world that is so noisy. Everyone is talking. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone wants to be heard. Social media has given everyone a platform, and now we're drowning in a sea of voices, most of them saying absolutely nothing of value. And in the midst of all this noise, the wisest thing you can do is to be quiet, to stop adding to the chaos, to stop defending yourself against every criticism, to stop trying to make everyone understand you. You see, when you're truly connected to God, when you're truly humble, you don't need to explain yourself to everyone. You don't need to defend your choices. You don't need to convince anyone that you're on the right path. You simply walk your path with confidence and let your life be the evidence. You let your peace be the proof. You let your joy be the testimony. Words are cheap. Anyone can say anything. But the way you live, the energy you carry, the light that shines through you, that's what really matters. Staying silent doesn't mean you never speak. It means you choose your words carefully. It means you don't react to every provocation. It means you don't engage in arguments that will lead nowhere. It means you save your energy for what truly matters. There are people in your life right now who will never understand your spiritual path. They'll think you're crazy. They'll think you're deluded. They'll try to pull you back down to their level of consciousness. And you know what? That's okay. You don't need their approval. You don't need their understanding. You need to stay true to yourself and to God. Let me tell you something about criticism and judgment. When someone criticizes you, when someone judges you, it's rarely about you. It's about them. It's about their own fears, their own insecurities, their own limited way of seeing the world. When you understand this, you stop taking things personally. You realize that someone else's opinion of you is none of your business. Your business is to stay focused on God, to remain humble, and to be silent in the face of ignorance. There's a story I love about a wise teacher who was constantly being criticized by people in his village. They said he was lazy because he meditated all day. They said he was foolish because he gave away everything he had. They said he was wasting his life. And do you know what he did? He smiled. He didn't argue. He didn't defend himself. He simply continued doing what he knew was right. And eventually people began to notice something. This teacher had a peace about him that they didn't have. He had a joy that they couldn't find. He had a wisdom that they desperately needed. And slowly, one by one, they came to him to learn. Not because he convinced them with words, but because he showed them with his life. This is the path I'm talking about. This is the way of focusing on God, humbling yourself, and staying silent. It's not passive. It's not weak. It's the most powerful way to live because it comes from a place of complete inner strength. When you don't need to prove anything to anyone, you're free. When you don't need to defend your every action, you're at peace. When you don't need to explain yourself constantly, you have so much more energy for the things that truly matter. Now let's talk about what it really means to focus on God in practical terms. How do you do this in your daily life? It starts in the morning, the moment you wake up. Before you check your phone, before you start thinking about all the things you need to do, before you let the world rush in, you take a few moments to connect. You might pray. You might meditate. You might simply sit in silence and feel the presence of the divine within you. You set your intention for the day. You remind yourself that you're not doing life alone, that there's an infinite intelligence guiding you, supporting you, loving you. Throughout your day, you keep coming back to this connection. When you're faced with a difficult decision, you pause and ask for guidance. When you're feeling overwhelmed, you take a breath and remember that you're being held by something far greater than your problems. When someone says something hurtful, you step back and refuse to react from your wounded ego. Instead, you respond from your higher self, from your connection to God. This is what it means to walk through life with spiritual awareness. And here's what's beautiful about this practice. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. In the beginning, you might forget. You might get caught up in drama. You might react in old ways. That's okay. This is a practice, not a perfection. Every time you remember to focus on God, every time you choose humility over ego, every time you stay silent instead of reacting, you're strengthening that spiritual muscle. You're rewiring your brain. You're shifting your consciousness. And gradually, this way of being becomes natural. It becomes who you are. Let's talk about humility in a deeper way. When you humble yourself before God, you're acknowledging that you don't have all the answers. You're admitting that your perspective is limited. You're opening yourself up to being taught, to being guided, to being transformed. And this is where miracles happen. When you think you know everything, you close yourself off to new possibilities. When you think you have it all figured out, you stop growing. But when you approach life with humility, with a beginner's mind, with a willingness to be surprised, life becomes an adventure. God can work through you in ways you never imagined. I've seen this in my own life countless times. The moments when I thought I knew exactly how things should go, those were usually the moments when I struggled the most. But the moments when I said, God, I don't know what to do here. I'm going to trust you. I'm going to follow your guidance. I'm going to let go of my need to control this situation. Those were the moments when everything flowed. Those were the moments when solutions appeared out of nowhere. Those were the moments when I experienced what people call miracles, but what I call the natural result of aligning with the divine flow. Humility also means being okay with not being understood. There will be people who think you're strange because you meditate. There will be people who think you're irresponsible because you trust God instead of worrying constantly. There will be people who think you're naive because you choose love over fear. Let them think what they want. You're not living for their approval. You're living for truth. You're living for love. You're living for God. And that requires a level of courage that most people don't have. It requires the courage to be different, to go against the crowd, to trust your inner guidance even when everyone else thinks you're wrong. Now, about staying silent, this is perhaps the most challenging part for many people. We've been conditioned to defend ourselves, to explain ourselves, to make sure everyone knows our side of the story. We've been taught that if we don't speak up, we'll be walked all over. We've been told that silence means weakness, but I'm here to tell you that silence is power. The right kind of silence, spiritual silence, conscious silence, is one of the most powerful forces in the universe. When you stay silent in the face of criticism, you're not allowing the critic to control your energy. You're not giving away your power. You're keeping your peace intact. When you stay silent instead of arguing, you're refusing to engage in the ego battle that drains both people involved. You're choosing to stay in your higher consciousness while the other person is in their lower consciousness. And eventually, they'll either rise to meet you there, or they'll move on to find someone else to argue with. Silence also allows you to hear God. You can't hear the still small voice within if you're constantly talking, constantly defending, constantly engaged in mental chatter. Silence creates space, space for wisdom to emerge, space for inspiration to flow, space for healing to occur. When you practice silence, you're not running away from problems. You're creating the internal environment where solutions can appear. There's a difference between silence and suppression, though. I'm not telling you to suppress your feelings or to pretend everything is okay when it's not. I'm talking about conscious silence. Silence that comes from strength, not fear. Silence that comes from knowing when to speak and when not to. Silence that comes from recognizing that some battles aren't worth fighting because they keep you stuck in lower consciousness. Here's a practice I want you to try. For the next week, before you respond to any criticism, before you defend yourself, before you explain your actions, pause. Take 3 deep breaths. Connect with God. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Does this person really want to understand, or do they just want to be right? Will engaging in this conversation bring me closer to my highest self, or will it pull me down? Most of the time, you'll realize that silence is the best response. Not because you don't have a good answer, but because you're choosing to protect your peace. And when you do choose to speak, speak from that connected place. Speak from love, not from ego. Speak to uplift, not to defeat. Speak to share your truth, not to prove someone else wrong. Words that come from a place of connection to God have power. They land differently. They touch hearts. They change minds. But words that come from ego, from defensiveness, from the need to be right, those words create more conflict, more separation, more pain. Let me share something with you about the ego. The ego is that part of you that believes you're separate from God, separate from others, separate from the universe. The ego believes it has to fight for everything, defend everything, control everything. The ego is terrified of being wrong, of looking foolish, of being rejected. And so the ego talks constantly. It explains, it justifies, it defends. The ego can never be at peace because it's always in battle mode. But when you focus on God, when you humble yourself, when you practice silence, you're not operating from ego. You're operating from your true self, your higher self, your God self. This part of you knows it's connected to everything. This part of you knows it's loved unconditionally. This part of you knows it has nothing to prove. And from this place, you can respond to life with grace, with wisdom, with compassion. I want you to think about the people in your life who inspire you the most, the ones who seem to have a deep peace about them, the ones who don't get rattled easily, the ones who seem to know something that others don't. What do they have in common? They're not the loudest people in the room. They're not constantly defending themselves. They're not always trying to prove how spiritual or smart or successful they are. They simply are. They're grounded. They're centered. They're connected. And that connection radiates from them without them having to say a word. This is what's available to you. This is what happens when you make the commitment to focus on God, to humble yourself, and to stay silent. You become a presence. You become a light. You become an example of what's possible when you align with the divine. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be willing. Willing to let go of ego. Willing to trust. Willing to be quiet when your old programming tells you to defend yourself. There's a prayer I love, and it goes something like this. God, please help me to see this situation differently. Help me to respond from love instead of fear. Help me to remember who I really am. This simple prayer can transform any moment. When you're about to engage in an argument, pray this. When you're feeling defensive, pray this. When you're hurt and want to hurt back, pray this. It shifts you from ego consciousness to God consciousness in an instant. And here's what I want you to understand. When you live this way, when you focus on God, when you humble yourself, when you stay silent in the face of ignorance, you're not just changing your own life. You're changing the world. You're raising the collective consciousness. You're showing others a different way to live. You're being the light that helps guide others out of darkness. You might never know the full impact of your presence, of your peace, of your example. But trust me, it's profound. Think about all the energy you've wasted over the years trying to convince people who don't want to be convinced. Think about all the arguments you've had that changed nothing except making everyone feel worse. Think about all the times you've defended yourself to people who were never going to understand you anyway. What if you could have all that energy back? What if you could redirect it toward your purpose, toward your growth, toward your connection with God? That's what happens when you stop engaging in unnecessary battles. I'm not saying you should never stand up for yourself. There are times when speaking up is necessary. There are times when silence would be complicity, but those times are rarer than you think. Most of the time, the most powerful thing you can do is to simply walk away, to stay in your peace, to refuse to be drawn into drama. When you do this, you're not being weak, you're being wise, you're being spiritual, you're being like the masters who came before you. Let's talk about trust for a moment, because all of this, focusing on God, humbling yourself, staying silent, it all requires trust. You have to trust that God has your back. You have to trust that you don't need to control every outcome. You have to trust that things are working out even when you can't see how. This kind of trust doesn't come easily in our world. We've been taught to trust only what we can see, only what we can control, only what makes logical sense. But spiritual trust goes beyond logic. It's a knowing that comes from somewhere deeper. How do you develop this trust? You start small. You practice in low-stakes situations. When something small goes wrong, instead of panicking, you pause and say, okay, God, I trust there's something good coming from this. I trust you're guiding me. And then you watch what happens. You'll start to notice that things do work out. You'll start to see the synchronicities. You'll start to experience the support of the universe. And gradually, your trust grows, until eventually you can face even the biggest challenges with a sense of peace because you know you're not alone. There's something else I want to address, and that's the fear of being taken advantage of. People often ask me, if I stay silent, if I don't defend myself, won't people walk all over me? And my answer is this: when you're truly connected to God, when you're operating from your highest self, you have boundaries. You have discernment. You know when to engage and when to walk away. You don't allow yourself to be abused. But you also don't waste your energy on people who are stuck in low consciousness. You set your boundaries from a place of love and peace, not from a place of anger and defensiveness. There's a huge difference between being a doormat and being spiritually mature. A doormat allows others to treat them badly because they don't value themselves. A spiritually mature person knows their worth, knows their connection to God, and simply doesn't engage with people who aren't ready to meet them at that level. They don't need to fight. They don't need to prove anything. They simply choose where to put their energy. As you practice this way of living, focusing on God, humbling yourself, staying silent, you'll notice that your relationships change. Some people will fall away. These are usually the people who were only in your life because you were operating at their level of consciousness. And that's okay. Let them go with love. New people will come into your life. People who resonate with the new you. People who are also on a spiritual path. People who understand what it means to live from a place of connection to the divine. These are your true tribe, your soul family. You'll also notice that your tolerance for drama decreases dramatically. Things that used to pull you in no longer interest you. Gossip bores you. Arguments seem pointless. Other people's opinions of you don't affect you the way they used to. This isn't because you've become cold or uncaring. It's because you've become clear. You've prioritized your connection to God above everything else, and that changes everything. Let me tell you about the peace that comes from this way of living. It's not the peace of having no problems. It's not the peace of having everything go your way. It's the peace of knowing that no matter what happens, you're okay. You're held. You're loved. You're guided. It's the peace that passes understanding, as the scripture says. It's a peace that people can feel when they're around you. It's a peace that's contagious, that inspires others to find their own connection to God. This peace is what people are really searching for when they chase money, success, relationships, approval. They think those external things will give them peace, but they won't. Only connection to God gives you true peace. Only humility gives you true peace. Only the wisdom to stay silent when silence is called for gives you true peace. Everything else is temporary. Everything else is conditional. But the peace that comes from aligning with the divine, that's eternal. I want to leave you with this thought. Your life is happening right now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, but right now, in this moment. And in this moment, you have a choice. You can continue living from ego, from fear, from the need to be right and to have everyone approve of you, or you can choose to focus on God, to humble yourself, and to stay silent in the face of the world's noise. One path leads to endless struggle. The other path leads to peace, to joy, to fulfillment, to the life you were meant to live. You are not here by accident. You are here for a purpose, and that purpose becomes clear when you quiet down enough to hear it. When you stop trying to force life to go your way and start flowing with the divine plan, when you let go of your need to control and trust that you're being guided. This is the spiritual path. This is what it means to truly live. Not to exist, not to survive, not to get through the days, but to truly live with purpose, with passion, with presence, with peace. So I invite you, starting right now, to make this commitment. Commit to focusing on God every single day. Commit to approaching life with humility. Commit to staying silent when your ego wants to defend and explain and prove. This won't be easy. Your old patterns will try to pull you back. People around you might not understand the change they see in you, but stay the course. Keep coming back to these principles. Keep choosing the higher path. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be willing. Willing to try, willing to grow, willing to change. God doesn't expect perfection from you. God just wants your willingness, your openness, your heart. The rest will unfold naturally. The more you practice focusing on God, the more automatic it becomes. The more you practice humility, the more natural it feels. The more you practice conscious silence, the more you realize its power. Your life is a gift. Every moment is an opportunity to align with the divine. Every challenge is an invitation to deepen your faith. Every person who crosses your path is a teacher, showing you where you still need to grow, where you still need to let go, where you still need to trust more. This is the beautiful complexity of human life. We're here to learn, to evolve, to remember who we really are. And who are you really? You are not your ego, you are not your past, you are not your mistakes, you are not your achievements. You are a divine being having a human experience. You are a piece of God experiencing life through these eyes, through this body, through this personality. When you remember this, when you really get this at the core level, everything changes. You stop taking life so seriously. You stop needing things to be a certain way. You stop fighting against what is and start flowing with what's becoming. This is freedom. This is what every spiritual teacher throughout history has been trying to point us toward. Not rules and regulations, not do's and don'ts, but the simple, profound truth that you are connected to something infinite, something loving, something that wants your highest good. And all you have to do is tune in. Focus on God. Humble yourself. Stay silent. These three practices will transform your life in ways you can't even comprehend right now. So take a deep breath. Feel the life force moving through you. Know that in this very moment, you are exactly where you need to be. Everything that has happened in your life has brought you to this point. Every joy, every pain, every success, every failure, it's all been preparing you for this moment of awakening, this moment of choice, this moment when you decide to live differently. You have everything you need within you right now. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to achieve anything more. You just need to remember. Remember your connection. Remember your divinity. Remember your purpose. And then live from that place. Live from connection, not separation. Live from love, not fear. Live from trust, not control. This is the way. This is the path. This is your invitation to a life beyond anything you've known before. Will you accept it?